Like my video on Rise, you should begin to see one of my tactics here. The old bait and switch. This video isn't a depressing talk about isolation, but why closing yourself off from others limits your world. I like reeling in my topics, so here's the big three. What The World Ends With You is about, and the core gameplay, why I enjoyed The World Ends With You as a game, and of course, as the game's title implies, and the third time I'm going to say it, why The World Ends With You. Also, I'm talking about the re-release on Switch. I've never played the DS or mobile version of the game. Everything I use in the video is under fair use and all that other YouTube gobbledygook. I'm Mr. J, and welcome to the Reaper's Game. What is The World Ends With You about? Story-wise, the game is about Neku Sakuraba, an asocial teenager who shuts out the rest of the world. Unfortunately for him, he bit the dust and has to participate in the Reaper's Game, a week-long game in which the winner comes back to life and returns to the real ground, aka the living world. This turn of events leaves Neku with three problems. 1. Neku lost his memory and doesn't know why he's in the underground, or UG for short, in the first place. 2. He has to work together with another person in the UG to survive, or face erasure. Lastly, should Neku and his partner for the game fail to win by day 7, they're erased from existence. Neku is then thrusted into dealing with the other participants of the Reaper's Game. The mysterious Shiki, the crinkly-haired Joshua, and the hard-headed Beat and his game partner Rhyme. At this point, you may be asking, but if the Reaper's Game only goes on for a week, then doesn't that mean the real game would be really short? And you'd be right, if the game didn't immediately pull the rug out from under you. Neku has to participate in not 1, not 2, but 3 consecutive weeks of the Reaper's Game. Each week, Neku's partner changes, and within each week, we see his journey of growth and evolution as a person. Now that we're done talking about story, how does the gameplay work?
Why, with hours of coding, of course.
Poor jokes aside, The World Ends With You is an action RPG. You fight the noise, creatures in the UG that are attracted to the negative emotions of people in the RG. You fight them in order to earn pins, both your source of income and psychic powers. Yes, you heard me right, you get to wield a vast arsenal of psychic abilities. The most I can say is some of them are really good, and some of them are the type you don't want to show your parents at a reunion. Some pins also evolve through using them in battles, so it's a practice of experimenting and trial and error. With pins in mind, you sell pins so you can do all sorts of things across Shibuya, like buying clothes for stat boosts and mission requirements, eating food that permanently raises your stats, and buying more pins. This is how the pin cycle in TWEWY operates.
You use pins to fight noise, which drop pins. You sell some pins to get stronger pins at a store. The pins you collected from noise and got from the store eventually become stronger and evolve into stronger pins. You use those pins against stronger noise, and those stronger noise drop valuable and more useful pins. And then, obviously, you take them to the store and get more pins.
In the Reaper's Game, it's blatantly obvious to see that the world revolves around pins. Other than pins and combat, there's a bit of puzzle solving and a few memory games. Why did I enjoy The World Ends With You as a game? I enjoyed TWEWY because of the world it built up and the journey Neku had to go on. And they also brought on Tetsuya Nomura, who was the main character designer, who's also known for Kingdom Hearts, onto the production. So what more can I ask for? In terms of the world of the game, I had fun running around Shibuya and fighting off the noise. Going to shops and selling, then buying more pins to use in combat was a different but interesting mechanic. As that was going on, Having to traverse the city and uproot the negative emotions from others and complete the day's missions were an absolute treat. The rules of the world, while I'd love to go into them, but won't because that would add time I don't have, are coherent. The world of the UG has its own rules from the world of the RG, and the game likes to make sure everyone knows what they are, and the consequences for breaking them. When the characters did have to face the world didn't bend the rules to suit the characters. And when push came to shove, the characters bent the rules when the antagonists unfairly stacked the deck. Not once was I thrown out of the world, and I give the people behind the world-building aspects of TWEWY my full respect. Then, there's the journey Neku had to face. In the beginning, I didn't like him. He was a whiny, brooding, tunnel-visioned jerk. Then, as the story progressed, I watched this asocial little lad slowly begin to break out of his shell. With each passing week, Neku grew emotionally as a person. He became less hostile and detached, and opened up more to his game partners. I witnessed him sharing his point of view, and how it gradually shifted over time with each clash of ideals and feelings. So as the beginning of week 3 rolled around, I was cheering Neku on instead of against him. The writers did a phenomenal job of making me go from despising Neku to liking him and making me want to be by his side and help him. The world of TWEWY is one built on a grounded set of guidelines, and not once did the game decide to break that immersion and ruin my experience. Paired with this vibrant world is Neku's journey of personal growth and emotional maturity. Both of these elements work in harmony to create a wonderful story and a thought-provoking message that still resonates with me to this day. Which, of course, brings me to my final point. Why does the world end with you? Without barreling too much into spoiler territory, here's my answer. Speaking in terms of the game, it's the significance of Neku realizing that his world ends by his own hand. So, playing through week 2, one of the prevalent characters, Mr. Hanakoma, gives Neku some life advice via a title drop. You should know it at this point, so say it with me. The world ends with you. In context of the story, it signifies the reality Neku had made for himself, an empty, closed-off world that never changed. He holed up inside his own thoughts, limiting his horizons. Neku chose to cut people off, to decide that he didn't need anybody in his life. Then it's through his actions and interactions over the course of the story that he realizes the importance of opening up to others and expanding his world. In the confines of the game, the advice Mr. Hanakoma gives Neku holds up pretty well. But how does this advice translate over to real life? In my interpretation of the game's life advice, it's how everyone's gotten wrapped up in their own little worlds. In the pursuit of yearning for a better reality, a lot of people have huddled away in their corners to make a hollow fantasy. It's a passive-aggressive little song and dance that, if I don't accept the unrealistic or completely moronic set of standards some Yahoo made up, I'm a defective or unworthy human being in their eyes. I mean, we've made up so many subjective, petty, and arbitrary lines in the sand that it's impossible to interact with someone without setting them off or bruising their ego. And that's where I feel The World Ends With You falls into modern society. We are a social species, meant to change and grow through the clashing of ideals and viewpoints. By interacting with others, good, bad, or indifferent, we grow our worlds and improve as people. Your opportunities to change and chances to grow as a person immediately grind to a halt when you don't take the time and make the effort to get out of your comfort zone and interact with different people. In other words, your world ends the moment you can't face reality and choose to make a shallow, self-serving fantasy. Hey, alright, I got somber at the end there, but I stand by everything I said, because you'll never make progress in life if you're always uncomfortable. But to wrap up the video, if you're looking for an action RPG to kill some time with, interested in a story that will hopefully broaden your horizons, and a well-rounded cast of characters, then The World Ends With You is right up your alley. I plan on talking about TWEWY's game sequel and its anime adaptation at a later date, so the thing I am asking of all of you is please be patient. I'm Mr. J, telling you to have a day.